Add angles to your text or layout elements. Angles are great ways to make a dull design interesting again, and can be as simple as taking a box layout and turning those boxes into an angle. Notice how the entire flow of the design changes? We can do this with typography, as seen here. Changing the line of sight on a viewer forces them to take notice of a piece and view the design as a whole instead of in bits and pieces. Take your design and flip everything horizontal. When you look at a design for too long, your eyes and brain adjust to the setup. By flipping it, you reset your brain and trick it into thinking you're looking at the design for the very first time. I spot many mistakes in logo designs and layouts this way, mostly things that I would never notice if I didn't flip the design around, like balance issues. I will notice that maybe a design was too heavy on one side versus another. Create several different layouts. This one seems obvious, but it's very helpful. If I come up with a perfect design layout, I love to try a second version, doing completely different things, and it's surprising how many times the client chooses my second layout over my first. I could be more crazy and experimental with my second layout, since I usually have a safer option already done for my first design. When I create a logo, creating it in black and white helps make sure the logo has enough contrast to work in a multitude of environments, both digital and print, and very small. It also eliminates color as a distraction. When we create logos and symbols for branded materials, having less distractions are key in honing in on a solid design option. Plus, you never want a logo to be totally color dependent. You have to think about those who could be colorblind, black and white newspaper ads, and in-office communications that may only be in black and white, and when color is not an option when displaying or viewing your logo. Learn keyboard shortcuts. These are customizable, but there's some default keyboard shortcuts you just have to know to increase your productivity. I don't care who you are, these first 3 basic shortcuts can save you so much time. As a designer, we cut, copy, and paste objects like nobody's business. The quickest way to duplicate an object in Illustrator and Photoshop is to hold down the Alt or Option key and simply drag across. If you press Command-Z or Alt-Z, you'll be able to go back one step in history, and you can do this in Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. But a trick in Illustrator is you can actually hold down the Z and go back hundreds of steps in your history. By holding the Shift key and dragging the object in Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, you can make objects larger or smaller but keep the same dimensions. This is my most used keyboard trick. Being able to scale by keeping the same dimensions is critical. Take advantage of Adobe Illustrator's artboard system. I avoided doing this for a long time, but can save you from having too many separated files for one type of project. I can have one file that contains many different versions on different artboards, so I only need one file for 20 different icon designs, for example. The great thing about using artboards is if I wanted to export all of this as separate JPEGs, I could simply go to File and Export, and I have 20 separate JPEG files. Much easier than having 20 separate Illustrator files and having to export each one separately. Have you ever had a large project and a client wanted you to change the color throughout the entire thing? And there'd be hundreds of little objects that you needed to select to change the colors. Instead of selecting each individual object and changing it one by one, select the color that you want to switch out and then go to Select Fill Color. You can change all of the elements with that same solid fill color in Snap. So many times I've ignored this handy tip and really lost some productivity and time. Adobe Illustrator has a more advanced option for swapping out colors called Recoloring Artwork. Simply select all and go to Edit, Edit Colors, and select the Recolor Artwork. It gives you all of the color swatches used in the selected area, and you can change them all on the fly. Use and master the Shape Builder tool. The Shape Builder tool is one of the best new tools in your Illustrator tool belt, and you're able to subtract and add different objects together. It is a great way to build and make complex objects symmetrical, and I also use it to easily trim certain objects. You can manually adjust the spacing between your characters to provide a nice polished look to your typography. Default kerning should always be tweaked in main headlines and logos. You can accomplish this by holding down the Option or the Alt key if you're in Windows, and use the left and right arrow keys to adjust the kerning closer or further apart. This is a key trick if you want to look professional. In layout design, grids are your friend. Using grids to balance your layout is a great idea. Simply go to View, Show Grid in Adobe Illustrator. So there you have it, 10 quick tips from a pro designer. I hope you learned something new today.